So let me introduce Dee Frew, Ad Tech Manager at the IAB. A very wonderful man, a very expert bloke who is working on the Coalition for Better Ads. I can give you highlights of Dee's 17-year career in digital, but I won't. But it includes working on DoubleClick. You go back a long way, actually, Dee. Agency Republic, Meva, Microsoft, Yahoo, and messing around with first-generation technology like DFA and Dart. And for the last 3 years at the IAB. But I like to think of Dee actually as the first point of contact for the four horsemen of the digital apocalypse. That's ad blocking, ad fraud, viewability, and brand safety. And because of that, I can think of nobody better to tell us about the Coalition for Better Ads, the coalition of the willing, not the coalition of the chaos, I assume. So let's have a big hand for Dee Frew.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can hear me at the back? Brad, you can hear me? All good? Lovely. Okay, so good afternoon. I don't know what Dominic's saying. This looks nothing like any brothel I've ever been in. I am Dee Frew. I am going to be your DJ this afternoon by the looks of things, but apparently we have to do this for the camera. I am the ad tech manager at the IAB, and Alex queued me up quite nicely a few times there, thank you. I previously went to Cannes 2 years ago and thought that it was kind of a waste of time. It just seemed like an excuse to sit around and drink rosé and look at Viscount Rothmere's super yacht, which is the size of a hotel. Viscount Rothmere is the owner behind the Daily Mail. He's one of the last press barons. I tried to get on board the yacht by claiming to be Guy Philipson, our previous CEO, and spoiler alert, it didn't work. Anyway, I have been invited today to talk to you about the Coalition for Better Ads, of which IAB UK are members. In fact, quite a few national IABs are. I'm going to start by talking about the scale of ad blocking in the UK. I will then continue with who is to blame for ad blocking, and then what is being done locally about it, what the global response has been, and what's coming next. Okay, hang on just a second. Can deal with this. Just give me, yeah, okay, and yep, okay, click. Okay, add ad blocker, add extension.
If anybody can sort it out, it's Dee, actually. We don't need a tech person.
There we go. There we go. You're not hearing?
On that microphone, whereas that one's working very well.
Really?
Okay, can you do it with...
Yeah, I can do it with a handheld.
Okay.
As in, it's just not carrying down here, whereas that one seems to be carrying down there.
Shall I take this one off, or is this one still recording? Leave it on. Okay. So is this one working now?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Woo. Okay. Well, fortunately, we've just blocked all the ads based on one bad experience. So every publisher in the room, it's now your uphill struggle to do something about that. Only took 20 seconds, except for the mic change, which added another 15. For more than 2 years now, the IAB has been conducting surveys with YouGov, taking a 2,000 plus representative sample of the UK population, 18 plus only. We have run 6 phases over the course of these 2 years. So we have a fairly good idea of what the public attitude out there is towards ads. It's hardly surprising our industry is in an existential crisis. People hate ads and want everything for free. Who knew? The good news, as it is that there hasn't really been much of a change. Oh, my fonts have broken. Okay, fine. Should have come in early and tested this. The highest blocking is, so it's been stable around 20% for the last year. And the highest blocking is in the male 18 to 24 audience. We know that most ad blocking happens on desktop, at least in the UK. Certainly in Asia, it's the opposite. You find most ad blocking happens on mobile devices. The Apple announcement 2 years ago, I think it was, where they allowed ad blockers into the App Store doesn't seem to have had much of an impact, but their recent announcement that they're going to be blocking all ads through their Safari browser may have a more significant impact. The AOP, just to quote another trade body, estimates that publishers are going to lose the equivalent of £2 million worth of inventory over the course of the next year. So £2 million, it's not chump change. The buy-side's original reaction to ad blocking was always that they didn't want to talk to these people. These people had already opted out of the conversation. You know, these young tech-savvy minds with disposable income. I mean, why would we want to talk to them? They're obviously just freeloading off the rest of us. You know, the brands can do absolutely fine without that generation. We'll make all of our money off Gen X and Boomers, right? Right? No. You want to be talking to everybody, basically. It's not worth ignoring the problem. It's only going to get worse. It might look like it's stable, but that is a false plateau. As the generation who is growing up using an ad blocker grows up, we're going to have a much bigger problem on our hands. It seems like some people just don't quite understand what we mean when we're talking about ad blocking. We asked people, which ad blocking software are you currently using? 53% said AdBlock Plus, 24% said AM other ad blocker, 12% don't know or can't recall. The interesting part here, though, is that 22% quoted their antivirus software and 11% chose an option that doesn't exist. We just made it up. And that has gone up from 4% to 11%. If we look at just the demographics for the people who are using antivirus or a non-existent one, it's the 35 to 54-year-olds. That's Gen X. God damn it, I'm Gen X. It's really annoying. Anyway, that's a generation that's had to pay for the internet. They got it for free in university. They liked it. When they took it home, they had to pay for installation costs. They understand. They may have had an AOL subscription. God, the days when you used to get the AOL CDs through the mail. It's a very, very long way away. But their kids understand things. They think different, as Apple would say. They think that the internet is free, that it's something that is always, it's on like running water or one of the utilities. So next we focused on the people who had actually switched off their ad blocker. The number one reason for switching off your ad blocker remains consistently, I bought a new device or switched to a new device. That's really encouraging. There's not a lot we can do about that. But we have seen progress in the segment of people saying I couldn't access some content with the ad blocker installed. So the efforts that publishers have been going to have hopefully been having some sort of success. There's also this, the ad blocker didn't work properly. Now that could just be people seeing ads on a page, having installed an ad blocker and thinking that the ad blocker isn't working, when in fact it's the publisher's efforts to circumvent the ad blocker which is causing them to still see ads. So they turn off their ad blocker, which is good news for all of us. At least people have stopped lying that they missed seeing all the adverts. Previously 3%, 1%, 0%. Come now, we are men of action, lies do not become us. So who is to blame for all of this? Well, quite obviously it's millennials. Obviously millennials. That's the cause of all ill in this world. Lazy, privileged millennials. Look at them, digital natives with their hipster facial hair in their organic coffee shop. Damn them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this planet until millennials came along. Oh, no, pay attention. No, paying no attention to those billionaire statesmen touching a glowing orb. God knows what they're actually doing. Seriously though, Kantar released this profile of an adblock user just in the last week, I think it was. Ad blockers are more likely to be male 18 to 24, which is in line with our own research. If we were to infer from our own research, we would guess that people under 18 are probably at a higher rate, even more likely to be using ad blockers. They will have filtered out their experience to make it easy for them to use the internet. They're rule breakers, my kind of people. They're more likely to be influenced by peer recommendations, which could be a problem for mass market messaging. Does anybody in the room do mass market messaging? Anyone? Yes, pretty much all of us, I would say. And they do their research online, and they watch their entertainment online. Anecdotally, when I do talks like this about ad blocking, the number one reason people tell me that they installed an ad blocker was because it was getting in the way of their porn consumption, or being able to watch the Premier League soccer for free. I bet there are a few people in the room who are, yeah. What do we give people to read online? Well, we give them listicles. We give them the top 10 reasons people have installed an ad blocker. Number 8 will amaze you. Some of the reasons that they give are browsing speeds, your bandwidth costs being used up, privacy, the feeling like you're being watched wherever you go, like this article. So this is a website about phobias, anatidaephobia, the fear that you are being watched by a duck. And 137 people found this article useful, and was it 44 people have left a comment on this article. What ad was selected to appear on this webpage? There's an ad of a duck watching you. That is hyper-targeting, behavioral at its absolute finest there. One problem here, though, is that this is not a real phobia. Anatidaphobia is not a real phobia. That's not even what it would be called if that was a real phobia. That's just somebody who has carefully pieced together two Latin words there. This comes from a cartoon from the 80s called The Far Side. If you look very carefully, there's the duck. Anyway. What is being done about this? Well, here's where I actually get to tell you a bit about the IAB, although I think you guys have already done that fairly well for me. In the last year, we put together the ad blocking FAQ, the lean FAQ, and the solutions to ad blocking for publishers. Resonance, by the way, are in this document. Thank you very much for your participation, Resonance. Are people already familiar with lean? Have you heard of the term lean before? Nobody's, no, shaking the head. Okay, good. That's cool. You should download these. Please go to our website, and then we can put a cookie on you, and we can follow you around like a duck. Lean was conceived at the tail end of 2015 as a way for the industry to improve advertising experiences, answering some of the concerns that came up during the ad blocking surveys. Lighter file sizes, so that bandwidth isn't being chewed up, and pages will load faster. Encryption, so that end-to-end delivery is secure and free of viruses. Ad choices supported, the little blue triangle in the corner of ads. We're all familiar with that. Has anybody ever clicked on it? Sir, you're nodding. What happened when you clicked on it? Or perhaps you were sleeping, I'm not sure. Has anyone clicked on the ad choices triangle? Really? Yes? Alex, what happens when you click on the ad choices triangle?
It was a while ago, but you went through to being able to select, how are you being.
Exactly right. It gives the consumer the control over who is using their data and what for. This is a fantastic feedback loop, and we should be using more of it. And non-invasive, so moving away from things like autoplay, full-page takeovers, pages saturated with ads that will lead people to install an ad blocker, as I demonstrated. It takes 20 seconds, makes your life so much easier. This year, we will also see the launch of the biggest creative specs overhaul in quite some time. So moving away from fixed pixel sizes, and instead using ratios. So this is intended to give a consistent experience across multiple different browsing devices. So brands will be able to just create one portfolio that is expanding and contracting depending on what screen the consumer is using. What about globally? Well, probably the main reason that I was invited here today to talk about the Coalition for Better Ads. This was launched at DMEXCO last year, and other big announcement at DMEXCO last year was that AdBlock Plus was going to pivot to become an ad network. And my God, the schadenfreude there. It was more like the beginning of a death spiral, but we'll see how that works out for them. Good luck to them. Anyone from AdBlock Plus in the room? No? Get out. Anyway, the coalition's first task was to define what is meant by better ads. I mean, we know what coalition means, but what is better ads? And I think we touched on it in the previous panel. So what came together was a testing methodology, and it wasn't enough to just canvass the industry. This went out to 25,000 people across the globe, mostly in territories where the coalition had members. And it had to be context-based. It had to be actually live browsing experiences. And the surveyed people were asked to compare and contrast what was satisfying, what was disturbing, what was annoying. So they would have a choice of three experiences, and they would rank them one after the other. Off the back of this, anybody who works at Microsoft or Yahoo will be familiar with stack ranking. It's where even if your best performers are only just below the average in the team, they still get fired. They don't do that anymore. They only did that when I still worked there. But what we came up with was this stack ranking chart, and some of these experiences obviously fall below the minimum threshold for what is considered even satisfying. It's a precarious balance, and even this announcement, these results, will change over time. Attitudes will change. As we eliminate some of the worst experiences, we will discover that some of the ones we tolerated previously are now intolerable. On desktop, 4 experiences, pop-up ads. Does anybody like pop-up ads? Does anybody do pop-up ads? I would hope not. Prestitial ads with countdown, YouTube. Autoplay video ads with sound, Telegraph. Large sticky ads on mobile. For some reason, there's even more of them, but there is a consistent theme that comes out of the formats that fell below the threshold for mobile. They all interrupt what the consumer is trying to do right there, right now. You are at your most intimate personal connection digitally when you are staring down at your phone. You are effectively just absorbing the internet through your face when you're doing that, and something gets in the way of that, you're going to want to get rid of that. You're going to install an ad blocker. I think, again, pop-up ads. We can pretty much agree that nobody should ever do pop-up ads, especially if they contain a duck. So these standards are for guidance, and similar to the viewability standard, which got a bit of a hammering in the previous session, the viewability standard is a recommendation. It's the minimum thresholds. People can obviously sort out their own trading deals and go well above that. Unilever, perfect example of that. P&G, they set their own standard. They work with their partners and decide what works for them. So these are, again, intended to be sort of the baseline, the thing we can all agree on. 25,000 people surveyed. The methodology is freely available to anybody else out there who wants to conduct their own canvassing as well. They'll probably come up with the same results, just in a foreign language. It's hoped, though, that advertisers will use this to inform their campaign development and stop booking formats or developing formats that have been proven to be wrong or likely to cause people to install an ad blocker. Publishers will hopefully use this to tailor the experiences. Technology platforms will use this to develop new ads that are akin to the ones that people actually enjoy. I say enjoy, tolerate. And providers of measurement technologies will hopefully be there to verify just how successful everybody's being as an independent auditor. Nobody's going to come around and break your legs for not using these, but what might happen is you see a consequent rise in the number of your consumers using ad blockers. What's next? So, the IAB Tech Lab in New York is developing what's called the Lean Scale and Score. So this will be an automated tool that will check an ad experience and see how it ranks, kind of like a digital top trumps. Maybe you are running a format that is slightly heavy on the file size, slightly above the specs, but it's built to, it's got a low frequency, so consumers aren't being bothered by it all the time. And it's got a very clear close button. Maybe it ranks a 5 or a 6 on the scale. And then you'll have the blinking pop-up, you are the 100,000th visitor to the website, which just bombards you every time you scroll down the page. Well, that's going to be a 0, so don't be a 0. Nobody likes pop-ups. No presentation on the coalition is going to be complete unless I bring up the elephant in the room. Sorry, I was going to say Google. Skynet, it's Google. Yeah, it's Google. Is Google developing an ad blocker to integrate into their Chrome browser with its 60+% share of the browsing market? So first off, I'm going to point out that I don't work for Google, that I work for the IAB, and Google is a funding member of the IAB. However, it is my understanding of what Google is proposing that Chrome will filter out experiences that have been empirically demonstrated based on the coalition's research to be bad for the overall online experience in an attempt to reduce the number of people that will install ad blockers. That's bad for me. I make money from those formats, you might say. Well, it is time for digital advertising to grow up. The gold rush has come to an end. The land grab is over. We have to be more mature. We are the biggest media now, and we need to guarantee the long-term viability. So join us. We have cake. What about people saying, that's Google dictating what I can and cannot see online? And I would say, yes, so what? Everybody's been perfectly happy with PageRank for the last 10 years. Your search results are already being filtered. PageRank is named after Larry Page, because I think BrinRank doesn't sound quite so good. Maybe you'd prefer if we went back to a sort of unfiltered directory, like Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web. Well, you know who else doesn't like using a filter and who just dumps their raw output on us all the time? Trump. A man in desperate need of a Kafifi filter. So I urge you to get involved. The coalition is not an exclusive club. Everybody can participate. You are represented by your various trade bodies, or talking shops, as Dominic likes to refer to us. I'm not sure quite how.
Don't take it back.
No. We do a lot of talking. I'm basically a professional talker. But your voice can also be heard. Talk to us. There is growing evidence out there that a growing audience doesn't even believe that we deserve lunch. So it's time to prove them wrong by listening to them, growing up, and responding to their complaints. Thank you very much for your time. Do we want to do questions?
Ask me a question.
Anyone have any questions? Sir, back.
Hi, I'm Chris from the Haymarket. Just interested to see the IAB's lean ads. A lot of those are outside of the publisher's control and sit within the creative agencies and the agencies themselves. 6 months ago I received a flash ad, which has been advised against for over years now. There's only so much we can do. How much work is going into those agencies, your side, and with the creators themselves?
So yeah, that's a very good question because we don't have a hell of a lot of creative agencies involved directly with us. That's probably something that we could do a better job of collaborating with. I guess, are they represented out of the IPA maybe? But we will have a great opportunity this year with the new ads portfolio coming out, at which point I think we're already planning to do a kind of roadshow or some sort of dedicated event for creative agencies and just say, look, these are the new formats, these are the new specs, work to these, your life will get much easier, stop sending unencoded raw footage TV ads and telling people to run it in an MPU position, because that's just not the way things work anymore. If you know of any creative agencies we should be talking to, let us know. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you for your time.